Hey everybody, good afternoon. Welcome to 12-Minute Trading. My name is Doc Severson. Today is Monday, the 9th of December. Today I'm going to be running this session solo with you. Dave is out doing a marathon, or actually a triathlon, the Ironman down in New Zealand. So he's going to be away for a few weeks. So while we cheer him on remotely, we're going to be holding up the market here for 12-minute trading for the next couple of weeks. So get your questions in. Because I'm not going to be talking to Dave, it's just going to be me and you guys. So get your questions in. We'll probably be here for the next 15 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the charts quickly with you guys. If there's any questions, I can pivot to that. But right now the S&P is, we're down a little bit today. And this is not surprising because we have this exhaustion down here. We've been in exhaustion for about a week as we made about a 200 and some point move off the bottom, coming right up to 6,100, from 50, what was that, 58.50 or so. So strong move to the upside we've had over the past couple of weeks. And that's after the election. So that set up a higher low, higher high. Trend is still to the upside all the way around. And the only thing that I see on this chart which does not support additional higher prices is the daily chart needs the rest. And that's what we're seeing today. So we've already seen a couple of gaps get filled this morning on the S&P. That's what we're seeing now. What's actually driving this is mostly the NASDAQ is down today, not hugely down, but of that, it looks like mostly chip stocks are the culprit today. So the VIX is up about 8%. We have communications down, financials down, industrials, tech, not all that much though. I mean, not hugely down. And then what we have up today is energy and healthcare. So kind of the opposite of what we had last week. But we're seeing some of the big names in semiconductors are down today. So looking at the NASDAQ 100, we actually have Apple up, but we have AMD is way down. So finally, after 2.5 years, I am out of my AMD position. Finally hit around 130, and I said, enough. So that was my stop that I've had for a long time. My cost basis, I think, was like 97. So a lot of other communications down today. And this is, from what I can tell, no big deal so far. It's just that, let's see, there's NVIDIA is down, 3% or so. We have Marvell down 3%. So it's a lot of these chip stocks are down today. T-Mobile is down. And even let's see, where's SMCI? They're actually up today, but the rest of the chip stocks are down because they got pretty well beat up. So I think there's a little bit of rotation going on today. Good afternoon, everybody. Doc Severson here with you at 12-Minute Trading, doing our Monday update on what we're seeing in the market. Again, what I'm seeing here is the opportunity for the price to maybe pull back a little bit. Maybe back to 6,000 or so would be a swing test and allow the daily chart to recharge. Get ready for next week's Fed meeting on Wednesday. And the latest that I saw was there's about an 87% chance as of this morning of an additional quarter-point rate cut that's already been priced in. So when we see that, there'll be a little bit of certainty, but then now what? My sense is it's going to stay at that level for quite some time. So we'll see. Let's look at some other indices here. Let's look at the NASDAQ. Let's see how that's doing. Now, the NASDAQ is set up for the most gains going forward into the end of the year because there's the most energy. But like what we talked about with everything here, there's a limit to how far things can go. The daily chart is now in exhaustion. So it's doing exactly what it should do at this point, and that's the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at the Russell. Russell's doing, the Russell's set up to go. Look at this. Russell's set up to go. There's a nice big rounded base. Not much of a handle here. If you are looking for cup with handle, the rounded base took so long to set up that there's really no need for an actual handle to set up here. Look at what's going on here with the daily chart. This is ready to go. So that energy can go in either direction. And now I'll close things out here with the Dow. Again, guys, if you have any questions, if there's any topics that you want to bring up, anything like that, all's fair game. Just chat it into the chat box there, and I will address as I can. Daily chart on the Dow is also set up really, really well too. So the Dow was one of the indices last week that was actually kind of quiet, and it was doing its job of consolidating. It's ready to go now. So we've got an opportunity maybe for the Dow and the Russell to run a little bit this week into the jobs report. I'm sorry, not the jobs report, the FOMC next week. The big advantage this week is that we have a Fed quiet period. The Fed is not allowed to talk this week, and that they crammed as much as they could in on Friday. So again, if you're watching live, let me know if there's anything that you want to cover, any questions that you have. If you're watching this on a replay, which is going to be most of you, give us a shout through email for the next one at support@12minutetrading.com, and let me know what you want to talk about on the next one. Now, some of what we've been talking about lately has been, who hasn't been talking about cryptocurrency? And one of the bigger ETFs that's for Bitcoin is the IBIT. Now, it's run into the 100,000 mark. Let me bring up the chart for crypto. So actually, spot Bitcoin has hit the 100,000 mark and is pulling back a little bit from that today. So that's not a surprise because we've seen this in exhaustion. Now, in this case, this is at the weekly chart. The weekly chart is in exhaustion, and it needs a break for a few weeks here. So we've been really, really pounding on this thing, doing buy rights and selling premium just above 100,000. And so just above 100,000 in this market is going to be, let's see, where did my charts go? Is about 57 on the IBIT. 57 on the IBIT correlates to about 100,000. So we've been selling right at 57, 58, as far as 60 out of the money. And there's just tons and tons of premium that's up there. That's our intraday chart, and this is our very typical. We've been seeing this really set up since July, where we have a nice, quiet little opening range, and then we start to drop right after that. That's been happening, and that's kind of a hallmark of corrective action. But we've seen that happen really for months now. And then if the market is going to move higher, it does so in the very last couple of hours. So we've seen this signature for a long time, and this is why markets climb the wall of worry, because the bears get excited early on and then they get squeezed out later on. But we'll see where this one wants to finish out today. It could end up with a reversal candle for the day. So let's go back to that IBIT, and let's look at some of the premium that's available on these things. So if you're an options seller like we are, if you go out to the IBIT, remember the 57 level is approximately 100K. And even into January with 46 days left, I mean, there's just an amazing amount of premium up there. Not quite 10%, but there's a lot. I mean, for every contract, you're bringing in $450. At this point you could do a buy right now for a 5,500, and let's see what that would be. So if you bought in at 5,500 or $55 a share, and then you sold the 57, that would be let's see, for 57, so that would be $200 for the capital gains, and then you get 450. So 650 divided by 5,500 is 11.8%. So that's an 11.8% trade if the price gets back up to 100,000, which is reasonable to think that it will by the 24th of January. So very interesting trades that are out there right now. There's also, we can look at Ethereum, which is right now the only ETF that I could trade on Ethereum is called EETH, and it is a futures-based, and the options aren't terrific, but they're good enough. They're good enough for what we need to do, especially if you get closer to the money on these. If you get closer to the money on these and accept assignment, you're okay with that. So, wow, whole 4 contracts. I sold some puts at 75 today, looking for a big credit. So there's all kinds of opportunities that are out there today with this small consolidation. Now, if you think that the S&P may go sideways for a few days, what you can always do is you can set up an iron condor maybe into Friday, setting up an iron condor into Friday. The problem is we don't have a whole tremendous amount of implied volatility. Even with the drop in price today, it's not spiking implied volatility. So actually that is not as good of a trade as it could be in noisier times. Okay, let's go back to the intraday chart. Let's see where things are going. Oh, we have new lows. We're testing the lows of the day at this point. Okay, any questions for our session today? Going back to the S&P, you can see the energy is actually going higher as the price is coming down. I'll hang out here for a minute in case you guys have any questions. Otherwise, that's kind of it for today's session. We've talked about the backdrop. Generally, we're going to expect to see higher prices into the end of the year, but there's no guarantees for anything. And there's no guarantees that this is going to carry over into 2025. But the news is has been rather good for the last month in terms of the economy and what might happen, right? I think we were all prepared to bear up for 2025, but I think especially with the Doge initiative, that may be the last shot that this market has, or this economy has, to escape a recession. In fact, maybe even a depression if things get worse. But okay, well, nothing's seen. Nothing's seen. So that is today's. We'll see if we get a bounce off of the test of the lows of the day. Price is generally below the anchored VWAP for today. If the price is able to get above beyond that. So here is the lower expected move, this blue line. That's the lower expected move. And this is the anchor VWAP, this pink line. I'll just call that AV. If the price is able to get above and beyond there's a good chance that we may end up closing at least higher than that for the day. At least higher than that for the day. Okay? So that's all we got for today. Thanks, everybody. Have yourselves a good Monday, and I'll see you next week.